All right, welcome to Stay Paid. I'm Joshua Stike. This is Luke Acree.
Yes, we are here. We are ready to go. I've had 2 Monster Energy drinks.
2 monsters.
2. So if you don't understand a word I say this podcast, that's the reason why. That's my disclaimer in the beginning.
Ready to go. Talking fast.
Yes, talking fast. Really excited to be on the podcast today because I read the bio of the person we're interviewing today.
I'll read it again.
Yeah, you're going to read it again, but I'm super impressed. I'm looking forward to picking this person's brain. So listen up. You are going to learn a ton. And we might get a little controversial because we're going to talk about like iBuyers. Are real estate agents going to be replaced? You know, what's going to happen? And not just real estate agent. You're a financial advisor listening to this. Dude. Are you going to be replaced by a robo-advisor? Like, what do we do in this technology-driven world? How do we adapt? That's where we're going. So Josh, without further ado.
Today we have Veronica Figueroa on the podcast. She is an absolute rock star in the real estate and coaching world. Veronica leads the award-winning Figueroa Team of RE/MAX Innovation in Orlando, Florida, and is a highly sought-after speaker and coach. She focuses on inspiring real estate agents to write their own story of success through her DMI Academy. Stands for Dream, Motivate, Inspire. And I love the attitude here because looking at the website earlier, saw this tagline on her site, said, from mindset to motion, which is what we are all about here on Stay Paid, getting your mind in the right place and then putting those ideas,
action,
those
baby.
dreams into action quickly. Veronica, welcome to Stay Paid.
Thank you. And I think there's a really cool disclaimer that that bio needs to be updated because just 10 days ago, I moved over to EXP. We walked away from RE/MAX.
Okay.
And we changed over to EXP. So there's a little... I think unexpected announcement.
Bam. We're first here. You heard it first. Breaking news. We're better than Inman News right now. Stay Paid Podcast is changing to a news podcast, ladies and gentlemen. No, it is exciting to have you on, Veronica. Really excited to hear your story and even excited to hear why you chose to go to EXP because I know that is a big thing out there right now. It seems a ton of agents are going to this virtual brokerage. But go ahead. I always ask, if you could introduce yourself to the audience, give them, the 30,000-foot view of your journey, how you got into real estate, what's led you up to today, and really why are you doing what you're doing?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm super honored that you guys would feel that I can just come on and possibly add value, tremendous value to our audience. And that's what I want to do. My story is just someone who fell into real estate by a necessity. I was a newly single mother who had just went through divorce and at the age of 25 years old, had a college degree, had worked in hospitality and human resources. But at that point, it wasn't going to cut taking care of my kids. So I think that's really just, there's no really, big story about other than I had a need. I had a real estate a real estate license that I had just gotten out of college and I put on a shelf because I was pursuing my degree in human resources and learned so much and was super grateful for my experience in that field, but it wasn't paying the bills. And I had a fire within me when I looked at my kids to make sure that this divorce was not going to sacrifice the lifestyle I wanted for them. And I started just doing it part-time in my market, which is Orlando, Florida. Timeshare is a really big thing. So I was like, okay, what better way? Timeshare capital of the world. I have a hospitality background, with a little bit of human resource. I'm going to be a timeshare rock star. I absolutely sucked at it. I absolutely about it. But I learned a lot. I went through a lot of the training, and which I think is some of the best sales training in the industry, in any industry.
I agree.
The TO concept to qualifying people to, getting them to make a decision based on what's important to them or making them realize what should be important to them. At that moment at 21, 24, between the age of 21 and 24, I didn't appreciate the art of sales at that moment. As now that I look back, I'm like, thank you, Timeshare, for helping me at least appreciate the art of communication and persuasion and listening, and making sure that you are intentional within that time frame, and capturing that person's attention. So fast forward, I didn't appreciate it then. Looking back now, I think it was part of the journey. I knew I had to provide for my kids, tried it, didn't work. And then a friend of mine said, hey, you should really do residential sales. And I'm like, wow, okay, I've only bought and sold one house, and that was my own home with a builder, and the builder did everything for me. So I have no clue whatsoever. And at that point I was young, green, wet behind the ears, had no idea. And I was like, well, you mean I have to pay an office to hang my license and I have to sign up with the board? I'm broke. I'm divorced. I don't have any money for this. And I just realized, okay, I'm just going to have to bite the bullet. I think I put my MLS dues on a credit card. I found the cheapest place to hang my license. And I'll tell you a little story about that later. I've learned the consequences of, working with the cheapest person on the block, myself, even as a broker. But, I did what I had to do. And my first 6 months in real estate, started off slow. I was still working my full-time job. I was taking calls underneath my desk at work, hoping I didn't get fired. And just one day I just realized, man, if I could really get good at this, I'm going to just get really intentional. And within 3 months, I think I made $11,000. I had $17,000 worth of GCI pending. And, I said, okay. And this was my first year full time, really getting intentional with this. That's while I had a part-time job. A job. So this was my part-time gig. So I looked at my mom and I remember I was like, I'm really liking this real estate thing. People are liking me. People are trusting me. I'm at every baby shower. I'm at every wedding prospecting. I'm at every, kids soccer.
That's a golden nugget right there.
Yeah, that's what I would do. So at that point, I remember looking at my mom and I said, you know what? I think I'm going to quit my full-time job. And she said to me, I'm Puerto Rican, my mom is super conservative, although she, would open up a bodega, as if anybody knows what that means, it's a Spanish grocery store in every place that my dad was stationed in the military. She was still super conservative about me and her grandchildren. She thought I needed to have benefits. She thought I needed to play it safe at that point because the kids were still small. Being a newly single mother, I said, Mom, think about it. If I made this amount of money part-time, imagine what I could do if I dedicated all my time to this. And she still thought I was crazy. Everyone thought I was crazy. And this was in 2005. So it was raining buyers and sellers. Right. Subprime market. We were catching filet mignons and, in the air, and we were just selling. It was great. And I had a boost of confidence. I think first year in partially, full time, I made like $60,000. I thought I was great. And then together with my other job, second year in, I cracked 100,000. Third year in, I just started really rocking and rolling.
And you are a rock star.
I hired I was just hungry. I was determined. I had kids and I just knew I didn't want to fail. I have a drill sergeant father, so he wired me to believe that I can do anything I put my mind to. And I grew up with my brother and my cousins kind of like beating me up. I grew up in a school where there weren't people who looked like me. So I used to get bullied and jumped. So I had a backbone of steel.
That's awesome.
I have one, I think. And that's kind of the backstory of that. Rejection really doesn't faze me. So I just knew I had to just push through. And I hired my first assistant in 2006. And that was the month that I got married to my husband of, now we're 13 years married and he's my business partner. I had 13 closings that month and 3 of them were on my wedding day. So I just knew very quickly that, this was something that I was meant to do. And I was so obsessed with it once I went all in. And that's just the type of person I am. And you're going to learn that later on is when I commit and when I'm all in, I'm all in. You will see me in your sleep if you have my attention. So that's what happened. I just started really getting intentional with this and I fell in love with it. I hired my first assistant, not even know how much I could afford. I just knew that I needed to leverage myself. And then, you know what? We were rocking and rolling. It was great. And then the market crashed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we were broke.
Then you
flatlined. Lost it all. Flatlined. I had no idea what a short sale was, and I was Googling everything.
You learned real quick. No.
I became the short sale queen in my market real quick. And then I just knew I had to make a decision at that moment to either be a statistic of an agent who just got into the market when things were good, or who could thrive and survive when things were bad. And I knew I was wired to make it happen. So when short sales started popping up, I looked at all the top producers in the market who had been in the game longer than me, I had a lot of respect for. And I remember printing out their pictures, finding their business card, putting it on my armoire. And, I was manifesting that I was going to be a top producer right there with them. And some of them had the Fannie Mae account. Some of them had the Freddie Mac account. Some of them had, market share. And I said, I cut my face out and I put it right next to them. And I said, you know, I'm going to have assets that I've never even sold an REO in my life before, but I'm going to figure out how to do so. I'm going to be number one in our market, and I'm going to be someone that people will look up to them like they do to them. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just knew that I wanted it really bad. So I took our last $5,000 and I bought a ticket to 5-star in Texas. Had no business going out there. And I told my husband, I said, and I have 5 kids. So I was like, babe, I'm taking our last $5,000 and I'm going to go knock on some asset managers' doors. Wow. And he was like, thinking, and I had one little account that I was lucky enough to get. And I knew I had to wow that person, because it's like they run in tribes. One asset manager knows another asset manager, you know, so I figured if I'm going to solicit or if I'm going to prospect sellers, I'm going to prospect a seller who's going to give me multiple accounts because I have a lot of children I have to feed. And we went out there, and I remember we with that $5,000, I stretched that $5,000 like I'd never stretched any money before. We went to a local bowling alley. I said, how many lanes can I get with this amount of money? And I had never been to Capitol Grill. I booked a dinner table at Capitol Grill. And then I was like, I've never bought a bottle service because my kids were little back then and I still had not enjoyed that type of lifestyle. But I said, babe, we're going all in or nothing. And he was like, if we don't come home with assets, we better start talking about who's our divorce attorney. Because he was like, what are you doing to us? And, you know, and it was interesting because I said, babes, I trust my intuition. I trust my gut. I trust that the same way they gave us an opportunity, people are going to see our fire, and they need a great local partner in Orlando. And who better than us? We're hungry. We're not taking it for granted. And at that point, I remember my awe. We came home on Monday. We had 37 assets in our inbox. The only problem was they were all over the state of Florida. So I had to build teams in Tampa, Miami, Orlando, Northern Ocala. I had to get access to MLSs that I had no idea existed, but we did so in less than a week. I built teams, and that was like Operation Go. And I knew at that moment, I was like, okay, you wanted the golden ticket. Be careful what you ask for. It's go time. And it was like, I built my SWAT team. I built my Navy SEALs team, and we ended up being one of the most successful REO agents in our market. And I've always tried to stay very connected with my gut. And when I saw everybody was focused on short sales and REOs and only focusing on that, I also remember the silo of our business, of the traditional business, and really understanding that that was important as well. And while all this other business was running, I had my vision on conquering a market that I was the new girl in town. I was the new girl in this new community where other people had already planted their seed. And they were like, oh, this girl runs this town. I said, well, she better make room for one more person because I want to raise my kids here, and I want to.
Dude, I'm getting chills.
I want to do farming. So I've always been obnoxious in everything I do. So we just started really guerrilla marketing, really getting out there, doing community events. And I had a little gut feeling that the REO market was going to slow down. So I started going really hard on intentional farming and recruiting and building teams. And I had still signs in the yard. So I had leads coming in. So I had buyer's agents or referral partners at that time. And that's when I formed the Figueroa Team. That was when the Figueroa Team inception really happened, because I started realizing I had an overflow of abundance of business that I could feed other people who weren't willing to go out and get the business themselves. And then from there, you know, we just started rocking and rolling as a little boutique office. And we were planting our flag and really entrenching ourselves with local business owners, community leaders, community events. And one day I just looked at my husband. I said, so what's next? And he's like, you can never sit still. He was like, why do you always want something else? And I just knew at that point we were a boutique brokerage that was just basically wanting to offer a competitive split, but we really weren't pushing ourselves. We really wanted more. And at that point, one day I said, I wonder what it would look like to be a RE/MAX broker. And I just Googled it. I called them and I was like, I want to open a RE/MAX franchise. They're like, what? Who are you? I said, I'm going to send you my production. I've got money that I want to invest, and there's not a RE/MAX in my market. And the last one that was here, I don't think, had the energy that I have. And I want to be the RE/MAX broker owner of this area. They came in hard with the close. They flew us out to Vegas. And then next thing you know, we opened in 2012, and we from there just became a pretty successful RE/MAX office. I just sold my RE/MAX franchise 2 weeks ago to one of our old top producing agents, which God bless her. She's an amazing agent. She's going to be an amazing RE/MAX broker owner. I drive by, so I'll be able to continue and see that legacy, but it was a different I'm in a different place now in my life, but it's still something I'm super proud of. From there, we just continued to just rise. We reached diamond. We've reached all kind of accolades. And then we just started spreading ourselves out to the world, meeting top producers from all over the country, exposing ourselves also to the online game. Do I need to take a breath? Woo!
No, please keep going. This is inspiring.
Exposing ourselves to the online game. That's when, we signed up with Boomtown, and I was like, you mean I got to pay you to get leads? And then I just started realizing what that was. And I was like, what does nurture mean? I just, I'm a belly to belly, elbow to elbow type of girl. So I didn't really understand what was happening in 2012, 2013, as this really started evolving. Zillow had been on the scene for a little bit. They still had their gas pedal to set up your profile, and Boomtown, was still selling us pay-per-clicks at the time. Yeah. And, I was like, these leads suck. Yeah. I was like, oh my God. But then I realized, no, we suck because we had horrible follow-up because we didn't understand lead conversion, online conversion. We knew if you met me in person, I was going to make an impression, but I had to get you on the phone. I had to get you to answer. And then slowly but surely, we started really getting passionate about the online space and what that would look like and how we could dominate in that space. So we dissected Boomtown. We dissected pay-per-clicks. We dissected Craigslist ads, and we just started getting really intentional. I remember we bought Zillow leads one time, and I was like, this is ridiculous. What is this Zillow thing? And then we ended up firing them. And then I think a year later, I was at an R4 RE/MAX conference, and I met the girl that changed my life when it came to Zillow. Her name was Sarah Enesapori, and she just wowed me. She says, listen, we think you should try this. I'm like, I tried it before. I was like, I failed miserably. I was like, I'm not going to do it. And she says, give me your credit card. We're going to make this happen for you. She was like, I'm going to have you coach with some of the best teams across the country who are having massive success with it. And she was like, I like your energy, and I think that you would really, really do well. I said, okay, just don't show my husband. Don't let my husband see you get the credit card. It was $283 at the time. I remember I called her back 3 weeks later, and I was like, oh my God, this is like crack. I want more. I was like, I've never done crack, but I'm just saying it was just like, it was crazy because I had one buyer's agent that put 10 people under contract within the first month. And it was just like people were high intent buyers, high intent sellers. And we just realized, okay, we're onto something. And we just started reinvesting. We started, advertising the way we normally would do in guerrilla marketing in our neighborhoods on the online space and making sure that we were nurturing these leads like the same way we had already learned through Boomtown and through our, multiple touches. So we really felt confident this go around. And fast forward today, we'll get into some of that controversy. I sit on Zillow's advisory board. I was the agent who launched Zillow Instant Offers as the beta test. We won Most Innovative Team of the Year last year from Inman. 2 years ago for being bold enough to take on this challenge of accepting and embracing the iBuyer concept and willing to not resist the change that consumers are asking for.
Sure.
And, we just felt that there's no better team out there that's grittier than us, that's more open-minded than us, and that's accepting that things are changing and consistently evolving. And it's our duty as agents to stay relevant. It's our duty as agents to stay, basically elevating our game, but always making sure that buyers and sellers are given the best experience. And sometimes not always what we as agents in our traditional mindset would think is the best experience for the sellers and the buyers. So I mean, that's pretty much in a nutshell. I have 21 agents on my team. We did just make the switch to EXP. We had 100% capture rate of our team when we sold our franchise. We chose to move over to EXP because, again, if you heard the backstory, we need to be able to be aligned with the company that's very forward thinking, that allows us to cross into multiple markets. We love the fact that you have one broker that has multiple MLSs. And also with us now being the Zillow offers for Orlando, which hopefully we expect to expand in other markets very quickly. We want to be able to have, the ability to work with a broker that allows us to be us and move into space, be nimble, be flexible, and cross into markets and really attract agents who get it and who want to be a part of this abundance of overflow of business that we have.
I have to say, I mean, you are incredible. Like, I'm blown away. That story was incredible. There was parts I got chills in that story. We're going to have to there's so much meat on the bones that we could go into here. If I'm in the audience right now, which I am, it's just like, man, there's so many avenues we could go. I want to know about how you prospected, how you do your follow-up, all these things, how you lead a team of 21 people. So we're going to have you back. But let's stay on this iBuyer because I think it's super really relevant right now. It's everywhere I turn on Facebook because I obviously follow a bunch of real estate stuff. And so it's everywhere I turn there. People are arguing it back and forth in comments. It's all over Inman News all the time. I'm curious, okay? You choose to go into and be the first iBuyer and Zillow offers, I guess, in Orlando, and you choose to be the first agent to test it out. Can you walk through for me, like, what is it, like, what's the setup and what's the difference between you doing it on your own residential and what they offer you through the, Zillow offers? And then ultimately, what do you think's going to happen? Like, do you think the iBuyer market's going to take over and it's going to start switching to where 80% is done by iBuyers, 20% by normal residential real estate agents? What's your thoughts there? So can you give us a little bit of your controversial statements? No. Yeah, like the percentage. I'm curious to know the percentage type stats, and then curious to know, do you think it's headed that way? And because you're a super successful residential real estate agent, but yet you're going towards the iBuyer, and I'm curious why.
Well, I look at my business with different silos, right? I have different departments. I have my mothership team, which again, we love to service traditional buyers and sellers and referrals and past clients, right? That part of our business is still the mothership. It is what people see in the community. It is what agents get inspired to join. And we believe 100% in our traditional business. We love it. We still think it's important. However, it's that other opportunity that we're just not okay with leaving on the table. If it's not me, it's someone else. So I'd rather it be me. So when the opportunity came out 2 years ago for instant offers, I went in with blind faith that at least I would be a voice to have an opinion on how this program should work and how agents should be involved. And at that point, it was just a test. At that point, Zillow decided to do this, and they had other investors. It was OfferPad. It was other, acquisition investors who were making these purchases. And we were just cranking out CMAs every day.
Gotcha.
For them. And we didn't know. And then they were like, hey, you're going to get seller leads. And these seller leads are new opportunities because this program isn't for everyone. Not everyone is willing to accept an iBuyer offer. So I said, put me up. Sign me up, coach. I was like, put me to bat. Let's go. You put me in front of more sellers. That's just another opportunity for us to create additional relationships with sellers for our agents and our buyers. It was either a seller we had no relationship with, or we would have never probably prospected. And the net was pretty wide. They casted a pretty wide net and we wanted a piece of it. And I'm always thinking ahead. And I said, okay, well, if I ever have an expansion opportunity, this would be great because I can then expand in certain markets where we have these seller leads. So, I went in there with an open mind. I really didn't know what this was going to turn out to be. I just knew I could be a part of real estate history. I can prove that consumers want an on-demand experience where they have complete control, transparency, and consistency, right? hey, I think that's a great option. And I mean, I'm all in. I already said it. I'm all in this career. So if they're ever going to write a book on iBuyer, my name better be on it. It better be in it.
That's awesome.
So that's for all the authors out there. But, I just knew that there was something, but I wasn't clear. I didn't really know what I was signing myself up. I didn't know I was going to sign myself up for backlash in the industry and being called a sellout.
Yep.
I didn't know I was going to be called, a lazy agent because I pay for leads. I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a recreational agent. I am building wealth for other agents. They trust me with their careers. So I knew I had to have different pillars of our business. You've got the traditional agent. You've got the acquisition side of things. You've got the resale. You've got the wholesale. So for me, I said, okay, well, I want to become as knowledgeable as possible with this. And it was a test. It was just a pilot.
Yep.
They had told me it's just a test, a pilot. I had tested a couple things with them. And I really didn't know what to expect when we got Inman Innovator of the Year. That was really humbling. It was just amazing. And then they left. They said, you know what? It was great testing this in Orlando, Veronica. We've decided we're going to go a different direction right now with, instant offers. We'll come back to you. We'll let you know when we're ready to come back to Orlando. Kind of was heartbroken. I was like, oh man, we just knocked out thousands of CMAs for you and you're leaving us. I said, but guess what? These are sellers I can still prospect. So we put them in our database. We were just making sure that we can keep on staying in front of them. So we had a couple a number of good successful closings, and realizing, these were free leads. This was an opportunity that we.
Well, you have a mindset of abundance. You have a mindset of abundance. You're approaching the business very intellectually, and you're approaching it as a business owner, which I love. So then what do you think the future is? Right. So do you think the market's going to go to iBuyers? And I know that's a really, big statement and it's not something that you can say in a 30-second clip. But what do you think it's heading to?
Well, check this out. They left and then Open Door opens up here. And obviously OfferPad came very hard in Orlando. We're just very similar to a Phoenix market or to a Vegas market. We're priced very affordably and great weather. People want to live in Orlando. So it was a great place for the iBuyer to succeed and test. Zillow leaves, then they come back. We just launched the new Zillow offers in Orlando, Florida on June 10th. And we had to go through an intense interview process and we got it. I call it kind of like the golden buzzer and the golden ticket to Hollywood. And I know a lot of agents don't get that, but think about being in front of that many seller opportunities. Think about having that many signs in the yard. I know it's not what everybody will welcome, but we saw it as another opportunity to help more sellers. And these are sellers who are requesting it. I mean, we have completed hundreds of CMAs just in the last 2 weeks because these people are saying, hey, I would love to consider this an option. I don't necessarily know if I'm going to accept it, but I'd love to see what they have to offer. What we have found is that sellers, just like you as a consumer, you want option. You want options. You want choices. You want transparency. And you'll make a decision based on what's important to you. So do I believe the iBuyers are going to impact our business? Yes. Do I believe that there is space for both the very good agents who run great businesses, who stay in front of their consumers and can justify why someone who maybe might be in a situation where, let's say, there was a death in the family. I have a situation, someone called me yesterday. The son committed suicide. The father found him in the garage. Guess what? They called me and said, Veronica, they want out now. How quickly can you get them a cash offer? That is so selfish of me to say, well, I don't want them going with iBuyers because I want to sell their home. Why wouldn't I want to give them a solution that will truly help that seller, during this difficult situation? So do I think they're here to stay? I think for a while, for a long time, yes. I think they're going to change the game. I think that there will be a space for both of us, the traditional agent and the iBuyer space, to still play in the sandbox. And I think it's going to be a percentage of sellers that are going to be okay with leaving a little bit of money on the table if there's a service fee. But these service fees across the board are ranging about 7% across the nation. Some homes are going to vary based on the amount of repairs that they need. But for the most part, they're coming in about 7 to 10%. A servicing fee, which is when you're looking for convenience and you're looking for transparency and you're looking for, I get to pick my closing date, no hassle, no open houses. I mean, I'll pay for an Uber Black just because I want convenience. I'll upgrade to something because I want convenience. I know what to expect. And I think that that's what we're seeing. So I say to agents out there who are not embracing this, it's like I just had a coaching call with an agent who called me freaking out because the buyer didn't perform. The seller's already packed up. She calls me. She says, can we get them a cash offer? I said, absolutely we can. Make sure you lock in your representation fee. So you go to them and say, listen, I'm your real estate agent. You trust me. And my job is to make sure I find you a buyer, whether it's the traditional route or the non-traditional route. However, along the way, I'm going to ensure that I represent you. This is my representation fee. You give me permission to obtain a cash offer from a non-traditional iBuyer institution, and I have an array of them, okay? You're still going to get paid, Mr. Allen agent, Mr. Agent. Just think of a mind shift. Stop thinking about just your best interest, which is your commission, and start thinking about abundance and a solution for your sellers. This seller, his best interest is to get something. He wants to move in 7 days or less. Man. Most agents don't have that ability. Or the seller who was left at closing, who their agent is calling me saying, I'm a strong enough negotiator that my seller will still pay me my fee and still accept the service fee because they want me to be there to hold their hand, but they appreciate me bringing this alternative solution to them. So this is all I have to say to agents is like, just simply have a different conversation. And think about this. What if you go to a listing appointment and say, hey, part of my listing agreement says I have a non-traditional program as well. Should I bring an alternative solution to you or a non-traditional cash buyer and you go that route, this is what I would charge you. I'm saving on marketing costs. I'm saving on all these things. I still want to sign in the yard. I would. But, this is my representation. So awesome. This is my representation fee. But think about it. Think about if I get you a cash offer, Mr. Seller, and in the first weekend, we have that cash offer in hand and we do an open house. And we still go on the market. We're now in a position to say that we have a multiple offer situation the minute another offer comes in. Get me your highest and best.
I absolutely love your mindset because you're coming from a place of above, you've elevated yourself above a real estate agent, above a transaction, and you really are the advisor for that person. For that family, for you, it's really, to you, it's the relationship. You're going to do what's best for that client no matter what. And whether it's residential real estate agent, iBuyer, you're going to do what's best for them. I love that mindset. We always classified here, I've always been harping to people, it's about relationships. You want to survive in any industry. It is about relationships. Technology will change. Who knows what's going to happen when the robots take over? This is my, controversial.
This is Luke's robot rant.
Yeah, my robot rant. When the robots take over, you don't know what's going to happen. But I know one thing won't change. Human relationships. The medium of how we communicate might change. It might be virtual reality, but relationships won't change. And people wanting to have people they know, like, and trust that add value to their life. And that's really the position you're coming from. So I love it. You have a mindset of abundance. You're extremely intentional. I keep hearing you say the word intentional. And I love that word because you're intentional about what you're doing and then you're obsessed.
Yeah.
And Grant Cardone wrote this book called Be Obsessed or Be Average. And it's so true. Anything you get into, I'm calling it the Cortez mentality now. You burn the ships behind you. Burn the ships. So, I couldn't agree with you more. I really think, I don't think iBuyers are going away. I think it's another tool for agents to use. Yeah. And if you own the relationship, they want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And the real key in those three is the trust. And if you can put yourself in the position of trust and become a SME, a subject matter expert to that person, to where you understand the traditional market, you understand the non-traditional market, you understand all these options, you're going to win. You are dropping some fire.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I am obsessed in everything that I do that I care about. And I care about the real estate industry. And I feel that it is my duty to really bring our sellers all the solutions as their consultant. And it's what I teach my agents and inspire them to just be the best that they can be for their clients. And the rest will follow. The referrals that we get and the people who trust us, it's a blessing. But I think it's because we put the industry and our consumers first. And it's not always accepted. I get it. And, like I said, I'm scrappy, and I was built to have that type of backbone to deal with things that aren't always liked. But I hope that I can inspire some people to just tackle, take on some of these risks and embrace change and get ahead of it, get in front of it, and see how you can win with it, how you can be a part of it or even be a voice for it. Because some of this is not going away.
Yeah. And you do have another, your other side of the business, you're doing coaching, you have DMI Academy. Are you still doing that?
So it's interesting. We've kind of shifted into more of a partner with us, or, it's hard to scale myself and coaching at the level that we were getting the request. So now, obviously Veronica Figueroa, VeronicaInspires.com. You can go there. You can learn a little bit on one-on-one coaching, what that'll look like. Also the ability to partner with us. We've got teams already across the country in New York. We've got teams in Oregon. We've got teams in Naples, and it's just been fun. I never thought that the minute we turned on the opportunity for people to partner with us, that in less than 10 days, we have over 200 agents already as partners with us. So it's just been interesting to figure out what's the best way to scale thyself. And people just want to be a part of something bigger. And it's shifted more from DMI, the academy, but DMI is still the backbone of this, of like, look, I want to help you reach your dreams. I want to help you, go after whatever it is that you're looking for, whatever this looks like, writing your own story of success. And sometimes we need to feed off of each other's inspiration, that it's okay to fall. It's okay to fail. It's okay to think differently. And that's what DMI is all about. But now with our partnership, through this new, relationship with EXP, it's really just allowed us to scale that. And be able for me to live the life that I believe was my purpose. And coaching has been a passion of mine. And now I get to do it just so effortlessly, but yet with so much passion, where I'm not worried about taking these people's money, but I'm really focused on growing their businesses. So it's just been a dream. I'm so happy.
So when you look at your success, because I'm really curious, and I ask this question to a lot of people that come on, are there habits that you do every single day that has driven success for you? Because everybody's looking for that magic formula. It doesn't exist, but there are habits that people tend to implement that drive success. When you look over your career, what are the things that you would share to other entrepreneurs, other real estate agents out there that are the habits that have driven you and propelled you to where you're at?
Wow. I don't really think that there's any secret sauce or magic wand. I think we're all going to find our own way of finding inspiration or living in gratitude or seeking growth or whatever habits they have. For me, it definitely has been, we start all of our meetings off with gratitude. We go around and we, always are grateful for something. And I don't care if you're visiting my office and you could be the executive of Zillow, you could be the executive of, I don't care what company. If you are in my office when we're having a team meeting, when it comes around to you, you have to say something that you're grateful for. We kick off all of our meetings with that. I wake up every single day and I give gratitude for the opportunities that we have, even the failures that we've had. And some people probably roll their eyes and be like, that is, she's weird. It really has helped us in our habits and how we treat our team and how we treat the people that we're in business with, and, just thanking them. Other than that, honestly, I am just obsessed. I read all things, everything real estate. I am always dissecting. I have way too many books. I'm always reading on who's the next, rock star agent out there. And then another thing that I did that really helped me grow in my career was, a lot of agents look to compete in the same market. So I was really focused on collaborating with agents, but I started across the country. So I just became obsessed with traveling all over and visiting the best teams across the country. Obviously, I know that's not practical for everyone, but it was just where I chose to invest my money. And I just started really just prospecting top teams and picking their brain and saying, look, I know you don't know me. I'm a huge fan of your work. I see that you coach with so-and-so. Would you mind, sharing some nuggets with me? So part of my prospecting was not just prospecting buyers and sellers. It was prospecting mentors who were flattered and they weren't in my market, And they have now become some of my best friends, some of my best mentors. And
that's brilliant.
I'm excited. I'll be in Canada tomorrow with John Cheplack and, some of the biggest names in the industry, Gary Ashton, Chris Lindahl. These are personal friends of mine. But when they first met me, they didn't know who I was. But again, I said to them, I need to know you and you need to know me. And they were part of my prospect. That was part of my habits. I knew I had to meet a top agent once a month, if not more than once a month, because they were going to help me get there that much faster. And they were going to inspire me to be a better version of me.
Love that.
And I have a lot of respect for people who are just running really big businesses. And I'm not afraid to tell them and I'm not afraid to ask them to help. So, and they were usually flattered. So that was one of the habits that I instilled early on in my career. And if you can't go across the country, what I did early on in my career, I just took a top producer out to lunch. Hey, do you mind? Lunch on me. And they were always flattered for the most part.
Greatest thing. That is amazing. That's a Gary Vee. I saw Gary Vee say one time to a bunch of kids. He basically said, make a list of the top 100 people you want to work for. And just start going down that list. Yep. He said, you won't get number 1, but you might get number 60 to respond. And then next year, you'll get number 30 to respond. Yep. And he said, and you literally implemented that. You implemented that, and look where you're at now. I mean, wow, that is great advice. All right, last question for you. I could really pick your brain all day. If you guys can't tell, I'm really just in awe. Listening to all this. It is crazy. But last question for you. Knowing what you know now, what would you go back and tell younger Veronica? What would you tell her and advice would you give her?
So knowing what I know now, and I said this recently because it hasn't always been rainbows. It's been a lot of challenges. I would truly be a better leader by releasing people who truly were no longer aligned with our vision earlier. To avoid the headaches and just the stress that it did to the operations, that it did to the friendships, that it did to them. Because when you're in growth mode, not everybody is on the same wavelength, and they may have at one point been really good for your operation or your vision or your future. But there comes a point where, if there's a disalignment, it starts hurting the operation. It starts hurting the friendships. It starts hurting the team. And I would definitely tell the younger Veronicas, look, when you know that person is no longer a fit, or they're no longer happy and you're no longer happy, have that sit down, move towards those difficult conversations a little bit sooner, and free them into their future so they can do what's best for them and you can do what's best for the movement. And I've read, hire slow, fire quickly. And I don't really want to fire anyone. I want to free them up into their future so that they can really do what they were meant to do and destined. But I always say, if you've ever worked with me, you're going to leave hopefully a little bit more challenged so that wherever you go next, you're inspired and you learn something. But I could have done a better job of releasing people into their next chapter of their career sooner. And that's what I would say. If they're not a good fit, they may have been a good fit. Trust your gut. When they're no longer a good fit.
It's great advice. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here, Veronica. I got to tell you, I have not seen Luke speechless much. You may be the first guest that left this guy a little
speechless. I'm just like, wow. We're going to have to, if you give us the honor to have you back, there are so many great things we could dive into because I'm just so curious. I mean, we didn't even get into how did you scale the team? How did you do the touch points with your online leads? I mean, there's so much.
Well, before we do close, Veronica, let people know where they can connect with you.
Yes, you can connect with me at veronicainspires.com. We are the Figueroa Team at EXP, and you can always call us at 407-625-3749. And we are here to help you with all your Central Florida referrals or needs. And we are just honored to have been a guest on the show.
Love it. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening. If you like what you heard today here on Stay Paid, please go on iTunes, give this a 5-star rating. Make sure to leave a comment. You can also find this podcast in video at staypaidpodcast.com. Do us a favor, make sure to tell someone else about the podcast today. It really helps us spread the word. And if you'd like to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com or on Instagram at staypaidpodcast.com or at staypaidpodcast. There's no .com on Instagram handles. I got a little mixed up there, Luke.
Yeah, you got a little
I'm a little,
yeah, you got
I'm all tongue-tied. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke Acree, guys, and I'll give you this. I mean, the action item for this podcast really should be go back and listen to it again. I mean, if you listen to the story again, it is so clear there is an intentional effort driven by extreme action that is obsessive in a good way. And all these entrepreneurs that I've had the privilege to talk to, meet, have relationships with, they are obsessive at what they do, obsessive. But the action item that is an amazing golden nugget and really is kind of convicting to myself is make that list like she did. Take that top producer to lunch. I mean, literally do that this week. Take a top producer in your area, lunch on you. If they can't do lunch, take them to Starbucks. They will be flattered, like she said. Pick their brain because they've been where you want to be. They can give you one golden nugget. There's so many golden nuggets that have been given throughout this podcast. So just imagine that you get this one-on-one attention. And then who knows, like Veronica said, they might become some of your best friends. And in the people you hang out with, you're the sum of the 6 people you hang out with. Just think about that. You are the sum of the 6 people you hang out with. Remember, the difference between a top producer and a mediocre producer in every single business is top producers take action. So take action on that tip today.